Welcome back, my blueberry pie. We have a very special episode today. I'm going to be covering blockchain backers thread. Now, normally, friends, if you've been following me, when it comes to these, I will go and interpret the data myself and I put together the story, but there's just so much jam-packed information here and it's very, very similar to what we've already been speaking about that I don't need to dress this up at all. We're going to go through blockchain backers thesis. Now, I've already mentioned it in an episode a few days ago, but to just flesh it out, what basically is going on. You see, between you and me, if you were to sit here and then not look at the charts, but I will tell you news, you'd be the greatest player in the world in this game. For example, when it was the bear market in Bitcoin land 2022, in crypto land, I remember saying to myself on Twitter Roonies, everyone, whenever there's a Bitcoin ETF, you got to sell on the launch. It's over. They're going to launch it at the top. Funny, I was also saying this in 2020, in 2021. The futures ETF for Bitcoin launch happened at the very, very top as well. It happened right here. So it happened up here, okay? And not many people believed it. Friends, I didn't even believe it. But I've learned the lesson. Now I know you don't look at the price. I've been preparing you for this for a long time now. I've been telling you, accumulate as many bags as you can, because when the signals flip and they appear, you might not like how high the market is. But if you increase your bag size when it counted, you at least have a chance to take some off the table, and then you can buy the blood that might come after. So when we explore blockchain backers thread here, okay, he's got a post here. Now, this is very scary, right? So this is Bitcoin today. It's hit a 61.8% retrace, and he has a fractal of doom. So what he's actually done, I'm going to go just zoom in, right? This is the Bitcoin Ponzi fractal from 2016, right? So what he's actually done, friends, is, see, normally we have this chart, right? Now, this is a 4-year cycle. And I mean, it's meant to just keep going up and forever to the moon, because that's what it did in 2016. Now, if I just show you, this is where it's coming from. You see this? It's just up only. Where it's meant to go up. This is what everybody thinks is coming. And I hope this happens. But this is where we are right now, by the way. This is the problem. The problem is this zone. Because if we go to today, friends, so far, and I know it's scary and it's strange. The 4-year cycle is exactly played out to the T. If we zoom in, we have rallied when we should have rallied. We've popped up here when we should have popped up. We are now going into the Bitcoin halving crash. Hell, we even bottomed when we should have bottomed. And we had a double bottom like we should have bottomed. So a lot of things has happened. So why is it now we say, it might actually get scary? I can just throw for you the Bitcoin spot ETF, and that might be enough. But we're going to dig in deeper, because in a nutshell, you're going to see it's a combination of factors, what they call confluence. So it's going to be the Bitcoin spot ETF coupled with crypto and stock market correlation. If you put them together, you might find, this is looking up for something nasty. Because 3 out of 3 times when Bitcoin has gone into a euphoric bull market, the stock market was also in a bull market. But once again, friends, I mean, it's kind of crazy right now, because the bull market for the stock market, technically, it is here if you look at the chart. Because if we zoom in, to the untrained eye, it is a freaking higher high for the stock market. So there's a lot of things you're like, whoa. So what's the problem? Well, the problem comes from that US yield curve, because the US yield curve has now flipped so negative inverted that it sparks mega doom. when things turn around. And the only way for it to uninvert is a lot of rate cuts. You might say, wait, rate cuts are bullish. No. Put another way. The only way for it to uninvert is a big, bad, scary monster to come and scare the markets. Some sort of doom crash first, and then the rate cuts. So let's continue. You know, BCB, he continues, right? He goes, look, instead of just being a doomer, I'm going to show you why this level we're at has been historically a problem. Now, we know all these, okay? This is 2019, friends. This is the plus token Ponzi. We've gone through many of these on my channel already. So this is obviously the plus token Ponzi. We've zipped up here, okay? And I'm sure he'll have, this is the plus token. This is the 2016, sorry. This is the 2016 cycle now. That's where the 61.8% chase is. So let's go back, right? So here's the thing. There's only two scenarios that can play out. Either we go back here. Let's go. Either a zombie virus crash comes, which I'll be honest, I don't think this is going to happen because I've made videos on this. We all know about zombie virus. We know that the market dropped 50% in a day. People know to leave what they call stink bids. They know to leave them there. People are now very aware of these. When it's in the back of your mind, it doesn't happen because no one is 100% fully complacent. These black swan type things, they don't happen every like 5 years. They don't happen like that. They happen more like every 15 years. It takes like a whole generation to forget. Okay, so, but I'm not going to rule this out. It is still possible that this happens. Now, you know, if we go to our chart, what would it look like if it played out? What would it look like? All right, so what it would look like is, see, this is Bitcoin. It would be something like Bitcoin going down to like here, right? And this is the weekly super trend chart. It would be Bitcoin going back to near, I mean, this is obviously huge. That's what the zombie virus would look like, friends. It's after, remember, around the Bitcoin halvening, it's like, no, zombie virus, and then up only. If you notice, that's actually Crapo's prediction. Crapo expects this. So as much as I think we're going to get tested, I don't know if we're going to get this zombie virus type of exact style. But the important part is, in each of the cycles, you see this fib level. This fib's really important. This 23.6%. Well, it has tested here before, and it had tested here. And we're already testing there. So basically, if we look at the prices, it's 33,300 and then 26K. So if we just draw a box around here, that is what he's saying might come out. But his is actually more doom than that. Because his is more doom than that. Now, here's the thing. We are just guessing. And we don't know how high the stock market's going to go before it collapses. We don't know. And it's very possible, friends, this complacency rally in stocks, it doesn't have to crash in the next 90 days. This can go on and trick everyone right until Donald Trump election time. And then maybe Donald Trump wins. And then maybe there's a conspiracy in 2025 that the insiders crash the stock market because Donald Trump was going to talk about UFOs, or they just don't want him to win and China's going to invade Taiwan, right? All these things happen. What I'm trying to do is, it's very, very hard. This piece of the puzzle, friends, I'm like an antenna satellite. I'm trying to grab all this information. It's very, very mumbled. Okay, there's so many things that play here. So we just have to focus on the charts. And the charts just say this box eventually gets hit. But here's the thing, man. We're all bearish right now. I've even made, recently I showed you news of showing like, hey, Jim Cramer's even bearish right now. Hopefully by the time this comes out, maybe he's like flip bullish. Right, and actually, that's another thing we've got to be worried about. So now you can see, right, whether we reproduce 2016 chart or the 2019 chart, either way, 30 to 33K comes. But I'm going to tell you as well, it is also possible, all right, if we never go back down here, there is a scenario in my mind where Bitcoin goes up to 80,000. And this would be the biggest trap, because if we don't test it now, maybe after we go to like 80K, then we test it in the next bear market. All right. And that's when finally 30K comes back and gets tested. Now that's the one, this is the one no one expects. No one, not even BlockChain backer. Not even he himself. So obviously we don't know. I'm still long, alt season, altcoins. We're going to pump, friends, high value growth, Bitcoin slow down. But I've now opened your mind. So you want to know, okay, what's the thing no one expects? It's this. But also, what does no one expect? It's a red 2024 year. So another way put, right, if we finish down in the year, probably the next 2 years are up. But if we never test us down at 30K, then we might just go and bull trap literally the whole world in at 75 to 80K. And then we literally come back down and this will be the disaster. This will be 5.5 years round trip of Bitcoin and we finally come back down. Now, don't be scared. It's going to go up eventually after that. But here's the thing, man. You know what I mean? If you look at the chart of our bear market, yeah, oh, Bitcoin went to 16K. It eventually went up though. See how brutal it was then? So, you know, talking about the words doesn't really help anything, does it? So BCB goes on to speak about the 4-year cycle and everything. And he shows that 4-year cycle chart. This is the exact same thing, right? We do the fractal here. And he's showing you that, he goes, the things that bulls have going for them is that it's exactly the same 2014 and 2016. This is the exact same thing I showed you, right? The fractal of it. Okay, so he's just making the case for it. And then he shows the fractals as well. Recovery after a cycle, recovery. Mid-cycle super recovery, right? So that's where he's pointing to. He's pointing to some sort of, you know, big thing coming here. And then he draws it back in. He says like, okay, if all of these things, range building, new ranges, range building, totally normal, why such a doom chart? So I've got to repeat to you, right? Why this doom chart? And now lucky for you, you see this orange here, friends? I have the doom chart for you. It's like right here, all right? It's right here. So that doom chart, yeah, back down to 15K. Oh, please don't do that. Please don't do that. That would be hurtful. But yeah, man, that's what it would be. And look, I don't even care if it's 15K, under 20K. Ouch. If that happens, that's going to hurt. I want you to think about, can't happen. All right, yeah, it can. Friends, what if the World Economic Forum, those bug eaters, and the US government just come out and say with the US Fed, cryptocurrency is now banned. You can't self-custody unless you go through our things. You know what I mean? Like they can say something like that. They can. Now, of course, they can't actually ban it, but the price just goes down. Yeah, it doesn't go to zero, but it goes down. Okay, so I hope this doesn't happen. By the way, he's not talking about a self-custody ban. He talks about that move, what I'm going to show you. He's now going to tie this into the stock market. And he also reminds everybody, he says, well, you know, a lot of you guys, if we go back here, right? He says, well, a lot of you guys, let's make it a clear chart, were calling for $12,000 down here. And then it didn't happen. And he says, you're calling for $12,000 down here. Now you're calling for 100K up here. You guys are going to be wrong. And he goes through to continue saying, look, man, I was bullish at the lows, which he is. He is very, very bullish at the lows. It's just that finally, after a year, he's like, okay, now things have got to switch. And he shows now Wall Street products launching. Okay, he shows, look, CME launches at the peak of Bitcoin. The Bitcoin Futures ETF in November 2021 launches at the peak, down only as well. And then they launched the inverse ETF. So scum, corrupt SEC signed off on an inverse ETF. And look, see the inverse ETF, the line goes down here because the product, why does the product go down? Because it's meant to be mirroring the price of Bitcoin and it gets wrecked. Sorry, the inverse price. And now he just goes through and shows you what I've already shown you, friends. This is grayscale Bitcoin. It's back at the retraces. We've already seen all this. You've seen high volume nodes, grayscale Bitcoin is coming back, etc. Now, this is where, see, everything up to this point, you're like, hey, so far, sure, we're going to stop and then we're going to go back. Maybe we go and punch 30K. Maybe we just go punch 30K, trade at 29, make everyone get out, and then we continue the 4-year cycle. But this is where like it actually all separates. This is where it's like, all right, let's go. It's a stock market. See, Bitcoin, friends, I want to ask you, right? If we were actually rallying here, this is see the maroon line, red line, Bitcoin. If we were actually rallying because of the Bitcoin ETF, you have made a very bad case here because this whole thing is correlated, right? It's Bitcoin and NASDAQ, right? They're very, very correlated. And very, very true, right? Bitcoin and crypto, we don't trade like money. We trade like technology and people and liquidity rails and their fears with this stock market and stuff. And then he shows the big Fibonacci for NASDAQ, right? All the way up here. Now we're going to bring it for you again. Then this is the big one, right? The big one. This is what I've been showing you. We have the Dow Jones, okay, and we have NASDAQ. So this is the, I think it's NASDAQ, US 100, whatever it is. Look, he's done a fib from the top to the bottom. We are like right in the highest extension up here and also up here. This is from like the whole cycle. And that started from the GFC. This is actually the birth of Bitcoin. It's just that we've gone 14.8 years up since 2008. And like you can say 2022 was the first crack. That was like the big wish down, and it just swiped everybody in stocks. Coupled with this, you have the US Fed and rates. So, you know, remember all that whole point, everything seemed to be okay, 4-year cycle, etc. But now we've thrown in Bitcoin ETF with now the stock market and crypto correlation, which is, it's actually always been there, right? But they're cutting rates now, all right? They're cutting rates. You see, what's the difference between this and last cycle, 2019? Well, in that previous cycle, 2019, they cut rates, we dragged on, then zombie virus happened. So they cut rates to zero, they just did the infinite QE. So we had a big puke, minus 50%, and then it was up only. They ushered it in, right? But, you know, you might say, hey, why can't that happen again? It can. It can happen again, okay? But now people can say, oh, the inflation numbers aren't high and stuff. Yeah, it's possible, but you don't know, right? There's also the chart here, right? I've made many pictures to show you. See, look, you see here. They start with this vertical line up here. They start the rate cut, and look, the stock market goes down. You see that down here? So let's draw the pencil. See, the stock market goes down when that rate cut. Also here, they start cutting rates. This is the stock market crash. They start cutting rates. This is our zombie virus. They go down here. All right. So this is the only time we ever seen in Bitcoin's history. Bitcoin started here. So we've only seen Bitcoin in this zone. You see this? Up only for the stocks with this. And the one time that they cut rates before, we had a zombie virus crash. That was the one time out of the whole time because they had to leave rates at zero. And they started hiking. Everything was still okay, trying to get everything normalized. So that's where we are right now. We're like, oh, crap. We've only got one scenario where they hiked. They started cutting rates because they were fearful of stuff and the inverted yield curve and stuff. And then like, oh, my gosh, a freaking zombie virus happened. So that's not giving us much confidence because you're often here, right? Bitcoin's never been around in a proper US recession where like everyone's losing their jobs. Makes you think like, are they going to keep buying meme coins and like ZK EVM trash chains and doing farming of airdrops and stuff? Are they going to keep playing these meme coin casinos if the unemployment rate's like 7.5%, 8%? You know, but right now it's really low, but that's where before it gets really, really bad, it looks the best. Now, this is where it takes a bit of a turn. And I actually, BCB, I disagree a bit with what is coming here, but what he says is right. He says, why were people calling for 12K? And he goes, well, I mean, it's fun. He's Richard Hart as well. He goes, because it dropped 84% last bear market. So that's why they had 10 to 12K. Why were they calling for that? And then he goes, well, in this one, Bitcoin only drew down 77%. Okay, because in the previous, you know, it dropped 94, 87, 84%, this from the top. And now it only had 77%. So he's saying that it's possible the reason why Bitcoin only dropped 77% is because this could be a B leg retrace of like this Elliott wave pattern. So it's right here. And this is, if you look at the bottom, that was Ethereum in 2018. It went down only. Now, this is one of his scenarios into this. Now, obviously, I'm just too scared when it comes to these friends because you never want to be the deer in the headlights and like, oh, you know, but I never want to say, oh, I just fully disagree. It never happened. You never want to be like that. But I think this Ethereum chart pattern he's referencing, I really don't think it applies to Bitcoin because Ethereum here, to give you some context, Ethereum's ICO was 31 cents and up here hit $1,400, which is a 4,500x. From the ICO. So it went up 4,500x in a straight line with no retracements. None. It did 170% retracement, bip, and then it went back up again. No retracements, no bear market. So to use this type of pattern, some sort of lower high type of pattern, and assume Bitcoin can just roll over, look, of course they're just patterns, but I don't think it applies here personally. I think, right, and I know they're just chart patterns, I just think that Bitcoin's volatility on the downside is less because its upside euphoria is less, because it's becoming more mature, it's more late stage adoption, people know about Metcalfe's law, the liquidity is thicker. I think that's more to do with comparing the chart patterns itself, okay? But I mean, like, hey, it is what it is. But this is why I'm just pointing out to you, charts are great. They tell you almost everything, almost. But the stuff they don't tell you, it's the difference between life and death in coins. You know, for example, Hex minus 99.48%. Did it tell you anything about Richard Hart tweeting? Doesn't tell anybody anything about 140 plus content creators or 68 streamers. Doesn't tell you anything about the yield or the T-share system or PulseX's buy and burn liquidity bonded to it. Doesn't tell you anything of that. The chart just says minus 99% down. So conviction to hold, right? So if you just see that pattern of Bitcoin, we might in a few years look back and I'll say, hey, remember when everyone thought, you know, maybe these things were going to crash lower? Well, if you believed in Bitcoin, you held through it. Whereas everyone else who kind of don't believe, right, you know, in stock market world, they're the ones who just think, oh, maybe this is a B wave of either wave, it's going to crash lower. And like, is it time to be Doomtown now? So also, this is where we kind of stretch it out to. He shows the stocks market up here and where we are right now. So he's showing, this is the top of up here. Top right is top of bull market 2021 for stocks. Sorry, for Bitcoin. And he's showing that stocks might also do that pattern and then come down. And in this part, he's expecting, you know, maybe we just start all trickling down, right? Where Bitcoin starts going down. It's just like it's a similar type of structure pattern. So it's tough, right? It's tough because you're making assumptions here. You're assuming that, yeah, as stocks go down, crypto starts going down immediately. It's possible that stocks, I want to show you right now. Actually, we're going to draw this. This is really important. Here we are. Now, this chart is Coinbase, friends, moving up and down. This is Bitcoin. This orange chart is stocks. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put stocks under it so we can view what's actually going on. So this is one thing I can show you. So look, if you just believe in this full-on correlation world, oh sweet, everything just goes down together, right? They go down and down. But what if, okay, what if my scenario that I've postulated might happen, one of them, where the stock market, okay, the stock market might go down and then start to like downtrend, but it's actually kind of like just doing this, you know, like maybe stocks finish down here, but you don't know they finish down here yet, right? You don't know. The stock, see, everyone's going to keep thinking this is happening, but this is going to happen. But it doesn't matter. We're in 2025 right now. So does it really matter where the price is right now? No. All that matters is in this game is expectations. So if we go to Bitcoin, what if by the time we hit 2025 here, maybe Bitcoin does do this, okay? It does do this. But you see this part here, friends, of the stock market rallying and the stock market going up. It's possible on these rallies, Bitcoin and crypto continues to go up. And the stock market crashes again here, and then Bitcoin goes down, and then stock market goes up, and then Bitcoin makes a higher high like that. It's possible. You see this point? Actually, it's got the perfect pattern here. And then here's the thing. Maybe the inflection point comes for the stocks, and then we fall off the cliff, and crypto's bull market ends here, April 2025, and then we fall down to like 30, 34, right? And then they've got to print money. All right? So what I've drawn for you, I found a hole in BCB's, how the picture plays out. Now, he's a great guy. I'm not saying it's not bad. I'm very, very thankful for his analysis, but I'm just showing you, I've traded correlations and spreads my whole life. You don't have to go one-on-one. It depends on the expectations. Because, sure, maybe the stock market finishes with some crash in 2025. But before that crash, even on the way down, people might be complacent and bullish. And that could translate to Bitcoin or crypto still shooting up. But, you know, it's a very weak case, right? Because never in the history of the stocks has Bitcoin been making these new roaring highs up here when this stock market's done this chart pattern, right? In every single case, this green is going to represent the stocks. Stocks have to be like going up for Bitcoin basically to be going on this journey. So that's why he's saying basically the stock market's topped out, interest rates, and we don't know, are they going to cut super aggressive? Okay, so that brings us to the end of it. What do we do? What do we do? Oh my gosh. Well, we're bullish. It's cool. And there might be a final alt season. But I'm not scared of altcoins here because they haven't really moved too much. I know, yeah, some altcoins have moved, a weekly candle here and there. That's not real moving. We haven't seen ETH, BTC, and Ethereum flush up. If ETH BTC was like 0.09 or 0.10, right, which is almost like it's 80% higher than what it is here. So basically, if Ethereum was, if we do the numbers, friends, Ethereum's 2,400, okay? If Ethereum was $4,300 with Bitcoin staying the same, it would probably be a sign a lot of froth and weak hands have entered the market, and then that gets counterbalanced with everything going down. Now, unfortunately, we've got everything together. What comes next, you still don't know. I can tell you what I'm doing. I'm still long. I'm still strong. I know there's a lot of risks, but I just don't think there's enough weak hands who have bought into altcoins yet. I know they've bought into a Bitcoin, but there's a big discrepancy. You know they haven't touched altcoins yet. They're starting to, right? It's not even real starting. It's just the first whale sweeping up. Now, if we get euphoria in altcoins in the next 2 to 3 months, and then we poke up and we top out when the US Fed cuts rates and there's like euphoria there, it might be, you know, responsible to trim off, not financial advice, anywhere from 5 to 33% of your portfolio. And then you just leave it in stable coins on the side. And you say, well, I guess if we crash in the next 6 months, I'm going to have ammo. But if we continue up, I'll just buy back in with altcoins in like 6 months. I'll buy them back in like 6 or 9 months. So you have that perfect strategy. You're protected in both cases. Unfortunately, it stops there though, because everything else from that point is full on guessing. You know, there's a lot of things that can happen, right? So far, if you go by the facts and the evidence and everything so far, it really is 50-50. On one hand, the Bitcoin 4-year cycle has played off perfectly. On the other hand, the stock market's next moves have also been predetermined by fate, where it tops out on a rate cut and whatever. We don't know what comes out. There's a lot of question marks. But if there is euphoria, it's going to increase the probability that things are going to start to turn by the end of 2024, way before actually even finishes 2024. You know, we're going to play this week by week, friends. I didn't think it would get to this. I wish it was just, oh, sweet, ride these staircases up only. That's why I've dedicated a lot of time to doing this. This is really important. All right. Now, what are you going to do? Don't panic. Don't panic. We've already got the system done. It just depends on the stock market. It depends on the stock market correlation, right? And remember, there is still that trump card, right, if you will, where what if Bitcoin never retests 30K? What if it literally just goes on an up-only run to 80K over the next 12 months? What if it never does a sufficient test and then it makes us test 30K deep in 2025? That's still possible. You know, that'll be, you know, BCB's whole theory eventually plays out just with a super delay effect, right? So I'm just showing you, friends, a lot of these things can be convincing, but at the end of the day, hey, we've been through hell before, haven't we? We had the freaking zombie virus thrown at us. We'll see what happens. Like, subscribe, belly button, or catch you soon.